What do you do when you can't see God? There will be times in your life where your situation is so difficult, so complicated, so convoluted that it's going to be difficult, if not impossible, to see what God is doing. There will be times in your life when some issue, something comes into your life and it's so painful, it's so full of sorrow and tragedy that you just can't see God. Sooner or later, there will come a time when you can't see God and you'll have a choice. What do you do when you can't see God? There's a beautiful old story in the Old Testament called the book of Esther. Esther's a fascinating book, and it's unique to the Bible because it's one of the only books that does not mention the name of God. Nowhere in the book of Esther is Yahweh or Adonai even mentioned by name. And yet, as you read that story, it's so clear that God is behind the scenes working, that God is in the background making things right, that God is there, you just can't see him. Esther is a young girl who's in line to become possibly one of the next queens. And it's a great honor for her to be chosen to be the next queen. And there's kind of a contest going on. Well, it turns out that Esther, who is being raised by her uncle has a personal situation and an enemy named Haman. Haman hates her uncle and then finds out that they're Jews, and this sets him on fire. So Haman, the enemy, he goes to the king who is having this contest to see who his future queen is going to be, and he convinces the king that all of the Jewish people must be killed. And the king issues a verdict to exterminate the Jews in his country. Now, talk about a situation where you can't see God at work. When a legal situation arises and the king issues an order that you and all your people have to be killed just because you're Jews, it might be a time in your life when it's difficult or maybe even impossible to see God. But Esther's uncle tells her, this is why you were born. You were born for such a time as this, is what he says. Meaning, this is your moment, that you can use your influence with the king to change his heart. And eventually that's exactly what happens. God works it out, and the love between these two people causes a change in the king's heart, and the people are saved. God was in the background working. God was behind the scenes doing things, but they never mention his name, but you can see him in the background. You can see the evidence of what he's doing at the end of the story. Now, in the New Testament, we are told to walk by faith, not by sight. In other words, we need to be prepared to be people who walk in faith, do what's right, follow God, even when we can't see him, because that's what it means to walk by faith, not by sight. Faith, according to the book of Hebrews, is the confidence of the hope we have, and it's the assurance of things not seen. Faith operates in the unseen world. Faith operates when you can't see God. It's easy to see God when he's parting the seas. It's easy to see God when he's performing miracles. It's easy to see God when you're just full of the Spirit and worshiping and all those things. But there will be times when you can't see God. And what do? You walk by faith. You keep doing the things a faithful person would do. Keep listening for God's word. Keep worshiping God. Keep surrounding yourself with God's people. These are the things that faithful people do. We walk by faith, not by sight, because there will be times in your life when you just can't see God, and your choice is, do I trust that he's there anyway, or do I make my own way? Walk by faith, not by sight, and trust that whatever is going on in your life right now, even though you might not be able to see him, God is there in the background, behind the scenes, working things out. And when the story is over, it's going to be beautiful. See you later.